The gymnasium fell silent. 280 Navy SEALs watched as the female liaison officer crumpled to the mat. Colonel Barrett towered over her with that trademark sneer. He'd humiliated observers before, but she wasn't even military. As his fist moved toward her shoulder in a calculated dominance display, everything shifted. Her eyes locked onto his. In a blur of motion impossible to track, she intercepted his arm. One pivot, one surgical application of leverage. The sound of snapping cartilage echoed through the facility. Nobody breathed. Nobody moved. And in that instant, every person present realized they had catastrophically misjudged exactly who she was. From which city in the world are you watching this video today? If this story resonates with you, consider subscribing for more tales of unrecognized heroes. Joint Special Operations Training Center, Virginia Beach, emerged from the dawn fog like a fortress. The November wind carried salt and diesel exhaust across the compound as Dr. Victoria Chen stepped from the unmarked sedan. She wore standard business attire. Gray suit, leather briefcase, small overnight bag, nothing suggesting the classified nature of her assignment. No ceremony, no welcoming committee, exactly as protocol demanded. Sergeant Marcus Webb approached with rigid formality. Young, fresh from NCO school, with regulation haircut and expression torn between curiosity and unease. "Dr. Chen, I'm instructed to escort you to Colonel Barrett's office," he said, eyes darting to her Pentagon credentials, then back to her face, searching for something that might explain her classified clearance level. "Lead on, Sergeant," Victoria responded, her voice carrying understated authority that made Webb straighten unconsciously. They walked through the training complex, passing clusters of SEAL candidates executing drills with mechanical precision. Conversations paused as they passed. Instructors glanced over, expressions guarded. Candidates stole quick looks between exercises. Victoria absorbed everything. Form corrections needed on obstacle courses, inefficient communication patterns during team exercises, but kept observations to herself. The facility hummed with disciplined energy. Men pushed beyond normal human limits, faces etched with determination despite obvious exhaustion. Instructors barked commands, voices carrying across grounds with practiced authority. Colonel Marcus Barrett barely rose when she entered his office. His handshake was perfunctory, smile never reaching his eyes. At 6'3", with frame still carrying muscle memory of 2 decades special operations, he dominated rooms through presence alone. "Doctor," he said, gesturing toward a chair while returning to his imposing desk. "I've reviewed what portions of your file aren't classified beyond my clearance." He tapped a folder with visible frustration. "Defense Department efficiency at its finest." Victoria waited silently. Barrett studied her with barely concealed dismissal. Service photo showed a woman in mid-30s, black hair pulled into professional bun, dark eyes revealing nothing. Despite her contractor credentials, something about her presence failed to register as significant. Just another Pentagon analyst sent to complicate his operation. "You're here to assess training optimization protocols," Barrett continued, making air quotes. "Whatever that actually means, it translates to someone higher up questioning my methods." "I'm simply here to execute my contract, Colonel," Victoria responded neutrally. Barrett leaned forward. "This is the premier combat training facility in the world. These men endure hell to earn their place. What exactly qualifies a civilian contractor to evaluate SEAL protocols?" Victoria met his gaze without defensiveness. "I respect the work done here, Colonel. My role is observation, not interference." "See that it remains that way." He slid visitor credentials across the desk. "Sergeant Webb will show you quarters and authorized access areas." As Victoria rose to leave, a slight hesitation in her step revealed barely perceptible limp. Barrett noticed, interpreting it as civilian softness rather than the combat souvenir it truly was. "One more thing, Doctor," Barrett called as she reached the door. "My men have earned their place through blood and sacrifice. Until you've faced what they have, maintain a very low profile." Victoria turned slightly, afternoon light catching thin scar running along her jawline, the only visible response to his challenge. 3 weeks passed, and Victoria had become invisible within the facility. Omnipresent, yet somehow unnoticed, methodically documenting procedures from periphery. She spoke only when addressed, offered no unsolicited opinions, maintained professional distance from everyone. Her quarters remained Spartan, as if she expected departure at any moment. Yet patterns emerged. SEAL candidates began noticing her subtle nods when they executed techniques correctly, sometimes adjusting approach before instructors intervened. During night exercises, they observed her watching, not with academic interest of analyst, but with calculated assessment of someone intimately familiar with combat operations. In the cafeteria, Victoria sat alone, reviewing data on tablet while eating. At nearby table, two instructors spoke loudly enough for her to hear. "Pentagon oversight," one sneered. "Next they'll send accountants to optimize our ammunition usage." His companion laughed. "Heard she's writing efficiency reports, probably counting push-ups and analyzing our hydration schedules." Victoria continued eating, seemingly oblivious, though nothing escaped her notice. She'd learned long ago that being underestimated provided tactical advantage. Colonel Barrett entered, presence commanding immediate attention. He surveyed room before approaching instructors, clearly aware of Victoria nearby. "How's Charlie team progressing?" he asked loudly. "3 drops yesterday, sir. Patterson couldn't complete underwater navigation. Mental weakness." Barrett nodded approvingly. "Eliminate the vulnerability early. That's what keeps operators alive downrange." His eyes drifted deliberately toward Victoria. "Some people never understand what it takes to forge real warriors." The intended message was clear. Victoria gathered materials and exited without acknowledgement. Later that afternoon, during brutal training simulation, candidates executing tactical maneuvers after 72 sleepless hours, an instructor pushed beyond safety parameters. Petty Officer Morrison collapsed, showing signs of severe heat exhaustion beyond acceptable limits. When supervising instructor hesitated, Victoria stepped forward. "Terminate the exercise," she stated firmly. "His core temperature is critical." The instructor bristled. "With respect, ma'am, this isn't your call." "Elevated heart rate, compromised motor function, disorientation," Victoria interrupted, already moving toward candidate. "He's past training threshold approaching medical emergency." She knelt beside the struggling man, checking pulse with practiced precision. "Get thermal blanket and establish cooling protocol. Monitor for shock indicators and prepare potential medevac." Clinical authority in her voice spurred immediate action. As emergency procedures commenced, Master Chief Diego Santos watched Victoria with newfound interest. Unlike Barrett, Santos had spent enough time in forward environments to recognize subtle indicators of extensive field experience. Later, as she documented incident, Santos approached. "Those were combat medic protocols you used, not standard first aid." Victoria continued typing. "Basic emergency medicine." "No," Santos said quietly. "That was CST extraction protocol for compromised operators." He hesitated before asking, "Were you with Task Force Phoenix in Afghanistan?" Victoria's fingers paused over keyboard. Her eyes met his with warning clarity that silenced further questions. The next day brought unusual activity. Barrett had arranged full facility demonstration, every available candidate and instructor present. Victoria entered without fanfare, taking customary position at periphery. Master Chief Santos approached as she settled. "Full house today," he commented neutrally. "Indeed," Victoria replied, scanning assembly. "Colonel's been unusually focused on preparation," Santos added, watching her reaction. Victoria met his gaze evenly. "I imagine he has." Brief nod passed between them. Unspoken communication between professionals recognizing currents beneath surface. Barrett entered gymnasium with confident authority, acknowledging salutes and exchanging words with senior staff. When he reached center of training floor, entire facility fell silent without explicit order. "Gentlemen," his voice carried effortlessly across space. "Today's demonstration focuses on advanced close-quarters combat, specifically threat neutralization in confined environments." For 20 minutes, instructors guided candidates through progressively complex scenarios. Barrett offered commentary, emphasizing muscle memory, tactical advantage, psychological control. Throughout, his eyes periodically found Victoria, gauging reaction. She remained expressionless, taking occasional notes. As demonstrations concluded, Barrett stepped forward with microphone. "Before team exercises," he announced, scanning assembly, "I want to address something important." His eyes found Victoria at periphery. Dr. Chen has observed our methods for weeks, evaluating protocols and efficiency. Tension rippled through formation. In the spirit of professional development, perhaps the doctor would share her expertise. His smile didn't reach his eyes. "Doctor, would you join me center floor?" Hush fell as eyes turned to Victoria. After measured pause, she walked calmly forward, betraying nothing. She moved with economical grace of someone maintaining complete bodily control under pressure. "Dr. Chen has been contracted to improve our training effectiveness," Barrett continued, circling her slowly. "I thought candidates might benefit from understanding her perspective on combat readiness." Victoria stood at attention, eyes forward. "Colonel," Master Chief Santos began cautiously. "At ease, Master Chief." Barrett cut him off. "This is valuable educational opportunity." He turned back to Victoria. "Doctor, perhaps you could explain your assessment of our defensive protocols." "The protocols are sound," Victoria replied evenly. "Your instructors are well qualified." "High praise," Barrett said with barely concealed sarcasm. "But I'm curious about application." He moved closer. "In your civilian experience, how would you handle aggressor who invades personal space?" Question hung in air, challenge unmistakable. "That would depend on threat assessment, sir," Victoria replied. "Let's create scenario then," Barrett continued, standing directly before her. "Standard demonstration. I'll play aggressor, you demonstrate basic defensive position." Without waiting for agreement, he began explaining to candidates. "Notice position of power. Control established through stance, proximity, psychological dominance." As he spoke, he deliberately moved into Victoria's personal space. Textbook intimidation technique. Candidates watched intently as commanding officer demonstrated dominance over outsider evaluating them. "Untrained individual typically responds with one of three reactions," Barrett continued, voice carrying throughout gymnasium. "Retreat, freeze, or ineffective resistance." He raised his hand suddenly near Victoria's face. Not striking, but sharp aggressive gesture designed to trigger flinch response. What happened next occurred too quickly for most observers to process. Victoria's hand intercepted his wrist mid-motion. In fluid sequence, she redirected momentum, executed perfect joint manipulation, applied precisely calibrated pressure to radial nerve cluster. Sharp crack of breaking bone echoed through silent facility. Barrett dropped to one knee, face contorted in pain and shock. Victoria maintained control hold just long enough to establish complete dominance before professionally releasing him and stepping back to regulation distance. No one moved. No one spoke. 280 witnesses remained frozen in collective disbelief. Silence broke with distinctive electronic tone. Secure phone in Victoria's pocket signaled incoming transmission. "Still maintaining perfect composure," she answered. "Shadowhawk confirmed," she said into device, eyes never leaving Barrett. Whatever she heard transformed her posture subtly. Imperceptible shift from civilian observer to something entirely different. She pocketed phone and looked directly at Master Chief Santos. "Assemble Rapid Response Team Alpha," she ordered with quiet authority. "Crimson Cell is active." Without hesitation, Santos snapped to attention. "Yes, Commander." Entire gymnasium watched exchange in stunned silence, paradigm shifting before their eyes. Two medics rushed forward to attend Barrett, who remained kneeling, cradling broken wrist. His face drained of color, combination of physical pain and dawning realization he'd catastrophically miscalculated. Victoria turned to senior officer on observation deck. "Captain Williams, I need secure communications established immediately. Authorization code Delta 779er Tango." Captain Williams' eyebrows rose at high-level clearance code, but nodded sharply. "Immediately, Commander," Victoria addressed stunned assembly. "This facility now operates under National Security Protocol 4471. Regular training suspended. Master Chief Santos will provide instructions to designated personnel." 6 armed security officers entered gymnasium, positioning at strategic points around perimeter. Not threatening, but establishing new security protocol. "What the hell is happening?" Barrett managed through gritted teeth. Victoria met his gaze coolly. "That information exceeds your clearance level, Colonel." She turned away, already focused on developing situation that prompted secure call. Santos approached, manner completely transformed. Gone was cautious evaluation. In its place, crisp efficiency of senior operator addressing commanding officer. "Commander, which candidates are you selecting?" he asked quietly. Victoria handed him datapad. "These 5. Full kit. Briefing room in 20 minutes. "Yes, ma'am." Santos examined list, nodding. "Your selections align with my recommendations." "I'm aware, Master Chief. That's why you're activated as tactical advisor." Ghost of smile crossed Santos's face. "Understood, Commander." In Command Center, Victoria stood before secure displays, showing satellite imagery and intelligence feeds. 5 SEAL candidates, revealed as hand-picked for specific skill sets, listened as she briefed developing situation. "Crimson Cell acquired materials consistent with chemical weapons attack," she explained, indicating movement patterns on digital map. "Target is Norfolk Naval Base. Window for interdiction closing rapidly." Admiral Rebecca Hayes arrived precisely on schedule, moving through security until reaching Medical Bay, where Barrett sat with immobilized wrist. "Colonel," she began immediately, "I want explanation for Dr. Chen's actions and disciplinary procedures for assault." Hayes regarded him coolly. "Sit down, Colonel." Something in her tone compelled compliance despite rage. "Commander Victoria Chen leads Joint Special Operations Task Force Echo 7, one of our most classified counter-terror units." Hayes' voice was measured, deliberate. Past decade, her team prevented 4 major attacks on American soil, neutralized numerous high-value targets overseas. Barrett stared, comprehension dawning. "Somalia operation partially redacted in her file," Hayes continued. "She extracted 12 hostages, eliminated entire terrorist cell after team was compromised. Carried 3 wounded operators through desert terrain with bullet wound in own shoulder." Barrett processed information in stunned silence, pain in wrist suddenly insignificant. "Commander Chen wasn't sent here because she failed, Colonel. She was sent because we need operators like her. Right now, she's mobilizing to prevent significant threat to national security." 4 hours later, operation concluded with textbook precision. Crimson Cell neutralized, chemical materials secured, all team members returned without injury. In Command Center, Admiral Hayes reviewed after-action reports with satisfaction. "Clean operation. Your assessment was spot on." "They showed same adaptive thinking and training," Victoria replied. "Why they were on shortlist from week 1. Barrett, who'd remained throughout operation providing local intelligence, found himself re-evaluating every interaction. What he'd interpreted as passive observation had been active assessment. What he'd dismissed as civilian weakness had been professional focus. As Command Center stood down, Victoria approached him. "Colonel, a word." They moved to quieter corner. For a moment, neither spoke. "Your insight on security protocols was valuable," Victoria said finally. "Contributed directly to success." Barrett nodded, accepting professional acknowledgement. "I clearly misjudged your presence here, Commander." "Understandable. That was the point." She paused. "What matters is how we adapt when information changes." Next morning, Victoria oversaw equipment loading onto transport helicopter. Her 5 selected operators, now probationary Echo 7 members, received final briefing from Santos. Remaining personnel formed impromptu honor line leading to aircraft. No one ordered this formation. It materialized organically overnight. Santos presented ceremonial trident. "We know you earned one already, but the men wanted you to have this." Victoria accepted with genuine appreciation. First real emotion displayed during entire assignment. Barrett approached as she prepared to board, arms still immobilized. Personnel tensed, uncertain what to expect. He stopped at regulation distance, studied her face, seeing for first time what he'd refused to recognize. With good arm, he rendered precise, respectful salute. "Your team is ready, Commander. If you need additional personnel for future operations, this command stands ready." Victoria returned salute with equal precision. No words necessary. As helicopter lifted off, brief flashback illuminated her arrival. Victoria moving through smoke and gunfire in Mogadishu Alley, calling coordinates while extracting wounded teammates, never flinching despite own injuries. Image dissolved to present. Commander Victoria Chen looking down at training facility growing smaller beneath them. No triumphant expression, No satisfaction at proving herself, only quiet resolve of someone who'd always known her worth, regardless of others' recognition. In years that followed, story of Commander Victoria Chen became legend at Joint Special Operations Training Center. Not as Pentagon contractor they'd dismissed, but as silent professional who'd walked among them, seeing their potential when they couldn't see hers. Barrett returned to his office that evening, staring at the cast on his wrist. He picked up the phone and dialed Pentagon personnel. "This is Colonel Barrett. I need to revise my assessment protocols immediately." He paused, watching the distant lights of the helicopter disappear into twilight. "And I want to implement new evaluation procedures for all incoming liaison personnel." The next week, Barrett stood before a new class of SEAL candidates. His broken wrist had become teaching tool rather than embarrassment. "Gentlemen," he announced, "today we discuss the danger of assumptions, how preconceived notions can be your greatest weakness in the field." His eyes scanned the attentive faces. "Let me tell you about a woman who taught me that appearances can be more deceptive than any enemy camouflage." Master Chief Santos smiled from the back of the room, knowing this story would become part of the facility's permanent curriculum. Victoria Chen had left more than broken bones behind. She'd shattered decades of institutional thinking with a single, precise movement. Whenever new SEAL candidates arrived, they'd hear story of female officer who shattered Colonel Barrett's wrist before 280 witnesses, and how that moment revealed truth about judgment, appearances, and quiet heroes moving through world unrecognized until their skills are most needed. Barrett never again underestimated anyone based on appearance alone. His broken wrist healed in 6 weeks. His humility took considerably longer, but proved far more valuable than any tactical skill he'd ever mastered.